Welcome to SEC Network South Carolina Spring Football. From Williams-Brice, it's the Garnet versus Black game. Hello again, everybody, along with Kaylee Hartung, who we'll hear from in a moment, and former LSU All-American Booger McFarland. I'm Dave Lamont. I know you've gone through this. You probably had the jitters, although not today. What are you looking for today?
Well, for South Carolina, for me, I want to stay healthy. I'm up here in the booth, but those guys down there, they have to play today. So the number one thing for them is to stay healthy. And then for South Carolina, on the offensive side of the football, they have to figure out who's going to catch the football besides Farrell Cooper, and more importantly, who's going to throw it to those guys.
And there is a battle for that going on right now. We're going to see all three of these guys in action today.
Yeah, and obviously Connor Mitch, in my opinion, is the guy that's going to lead this group. He's taking the bull by the horns so far. He's the number one guy in the spring, but he's getting competition from Perry Orr and Michael Scarnecchia. Those guys are all going to get about 20 to 25 throws today. Who can distinguish themselves in those throws is going to go a long way. Who takes the first snaps in the fall?
And let's face it, South Carolina was disappointing last year on defense. So Steve Spurrier has brought in a familiar friend in John Hoke to be the co-defensive coordinator.
Well, John Hoke's job is really simple. He's going to come in and try to make this defense simple. Last year, let's be honest, South Carolina defense, that defense was abysmal. So his job is to come in, simplify the defense, allow the players to play fast, play furious, tackle, and make more plays, because this defense was nowhere near good enough last year.
Now we know who's calling the defensive signals. We certainly know who's calling the offensive plays. Steve Spurrier is down there on the field with Kaylee.
Thanks, guys. Coach, how do you describe the opportunity your three options at quarterback have today?
Well, hopefully we're going to give them some pass protection, get some guys open, and see them make decisions, throw the ball on time, and just sort of run the team. All three of them have done some good things this spring, so hopefully it'll show up today.
Top of your priority list today, of course, is making sure nobody gets hurt. So in that vein, who is this game most important for?
Oh, everybody's important not to get hurt, but we're not going to hit the quarterbacks today. And the guys who played a lot are not going to play much. So it's mainly a game for the young guys. Let them go play.
After that 7-6 season of last year, what are the expectations for this team now?
Oh, who knows what they are. I think we'll be stronger. We got a lot of new defensive players here. We got to develop the quarterback, whoever that's going to be. But these guys are doing well. So we certainly believe we're going to be better than 7-6.
Well, on this beautiful day in Columbia, we'll let you play some ball. Thanks,
it's always a pretty day here. 80 degrees, green grass, sunshine. It's hard to beat.
All right, thank you, Kaylee, and thank you, Coach Spurrier. And it's going to, and by the way, you talk about a fussy quarterback coach. There's none fussier than that man, and he always talks about timing. He is has such an eye for that and how important that is in his offense.
Well, I think it's very interesting this year. Much has been publicized. He's taken back over the play calling this year, and as we know back to his Florida days, he's a guy that likes to air it out. Well, here's the problem. The quarterback situation in South Carolina is kind of murky. He's got to identify a guy that he can trust. Otherwise, we may see a lot of quarterback shuffling here in South Carolina.
Also, he's had some tremendous running backs over the last few years, too. Marcus Lattimore, Mike Davis last year. So I think one of the things I liked about what he did during those 11-win runs was he tailored his offense to his strength, which was the run game.
Well, if he's going to do that again this year, it's going to start and stop with Brandon Wiles and also a guy named David Williams. Those two guys, I think, are going to have to carry the load. Brandon Wiles has waited his turn. It's been 3 years in the waiting. He stood behind Mike Davis. He's got a few carries. Well, guess what, big boy? Now it's your show. Can you go out? Can we put the lunch pail in your belly and you take us home?
Now, we're not going to see a lot of typical football today. For example, your kickoff right here, there'll be a minimum of contact. You certainly won't see the quarterback get hit. We're going to have 12-minute quarters. In the second half, by Steve Spurrier's edict, we'll have a running clock. The offense will wear garnet. The defense will be in white, even though this is the garnet versus black game. And it's the quarterback who will get all the points for his offense, garnet or black. And you're going to see first Connor Mitch come out, and he will be a garnet quarterback. Perry Orth will be in the black jersey, and Michael Scarnecchia plays for both today. So we'll see how Michael does, which team gets ahead as he tries to bring the other one from behind.
Well, and I also think it's very, very important for Connor Mitch to get off to a good start. He's only thrown 2 or 3 passes in his career. This is like a game for him. He's got to treat it that way.
And he has not gone against SEC foes in action either. And they will go to the ground here. David Williams getting the carry. And he'll get out to the 34-yard line. Kelsey Griffin making the stop.
just a simple zone read play to the right there. If South Carolina is going to return to prominence, we talk a lot about the quarterback, but the offensive line that was supposed to be a dominant group last year wasn't. They have to be better this year, and it starts with running the football.
However, today is unique because there's only 4 linemen who are going to be able to play because of a variety of injuries. So we keep talking about keeping people healthy, and that's going to be really critical. I don't know what happens if one of the linemen goes down. Mitch with his first pass, and it's perfectly in stride inside the 30-yard line, down to about the 24-yard line. Jarrell Adams, the leading returning tight end for this team, and a good one, and it's a significant gain there.
Yeah, well, last year, we remember Rory Anderson was a great tight end, and this year, Jarrell Adams, tremendous athlete. You can see, long, lanky guy that can run the football, and a quarterback's best friend, Dave, is a good tight end. Tremendous play by him right there.
So that gain will get all the way down to the 24-yard line for the Garnet attack. And they go back to Williams on the ground, and he'll get a couple to the 22. This is an SEC officiating crew here, by the way, completely from A to Z. 52 yards on that prior pass play, and a couple of yards there sets up 2nd down and 8.
And if you look at David Williams, obviously I think Brandon Wiles is going to be the guy who's going to tote the load. But David Williams is a guy, he's their kick returner. He's a guy who's got a 100-yard game in his career, and he can take it to the house. He has that home run hitting ability, much like Farrell Cooper.
There's something else that was bad for South Carolina this past season was their kick returns in general. They were at the bottom in kickoff and punt returns in the conference. Mitch looking end zone all the way. And it's caught by Darius Rucker. Wide open was Rucker in the end zone. The country star and former lead singer of Hootie and the Blowfish making the annual celebrity touchdown. Dawn Staley, the outstanding women's basketball coach, did it last year. Javion Clowney has done it. And Darius Rucker, who is South Carolina all the way, is in there in the end zone.
Well, you know what? A little play-action pass here. Connor Mitch, great throw. I'm just glad Darius didn't back out of the end zone. Connor almost threw it too far there, but good catch. 2 feet down by the NFL rules. Good touchdown there on the celebrity guest play.
Now, does that really count for Connor Mitch's totals?
Oh, absolutely.
He says it does, I'm sure. There he is, wide open. Oh, he had a couple feet there. He was in good shape. And good hands, although aren't you supposed to catch with your hands and not with the body?
Well, when you're a guy that doesn't catch the ball off, you catch it any way you can, Dave.
Elliott Fry, one of the returning players from last season, tacks in the PAT. Darius Rucker sneaking onto the field. And this pass didn't make him cry. 22-yard touchdown pass to Darius Rucker caps off a 4-play, 70-yard drive in 1 minute and 28 seconds. And you may never see for the rest of the year anybody more wide open than Darius Rucker, who's standing by with Kaylee Hartung right now.
Well, Darius, for a South Carolina fan as devoted as you, where does that rank among moments in your history as a fan here?
Oh, that's way up there. You know, and Coach asked me to do it. I thought it was such an honor and so cool. And to actually be out there and catching it, and all the team came up, that was awesome.
Describe the moments, though, before you caught the ball.
Oh, man, all my buddies are like sending me texts, you know, no one's ever dropped it, don't drop the ball. I'm like, man, why would you do that to me? So I went in there and said, don't drop it, think catch it. And I was thinking, just catch it, so I did.
So a 22-yard touchdown pass, how much game planning went into the execution of that play?
Well, you know, I drew that one up in practice, and you know, it's pretty easy when you're that wide open, actually.
I don't think anybody's going to be as wide open as you were this season for that play.
Absolutely. And I thought one of the guys was coming to hit me because he was running real fast. I was like, oh, don't hit me, man.
Are you eligible to be hit in this spring game?
No, absolutely not. I got on an orange jersey, for sure. For sure.
Stay away. Now, Darius, for this 2015 season, what are you most looking forward to? Is there a game you've got circled on your schedule?
No, it's the whole season, you know, just the level of football Coach Spurrier has brought to South Carolina has been incredible. And, you know, I got a 10-year-old boy now who just loves the game and loves the Gamecocks. So that's one of my absolute favorite things to do is come here with the family. I got Box up here and come here with the family and sit down and watch a Gamecock game, win or lose. You know, we just love our Gamecocks.
What is a game day like for you in Columbia?
Oh, it's fun. You know, it's fun. It's a lot of autographs, a lot of pictures, and all that stuff. But I don't mind. You know, that comes with the territory of what I chose to do for a living. So I don't mind that. But it's a lot of fun, and when we win, it's awesome.
Now, what did your son say when you came off the field after that play?
Oh, good job. You know, he was proud of me because he thought I was going to drop it. I'm sure he said, I thought you were going to drop it. But, you know, that's okay. I caught it.
And he's got the glove on today. He's ready to catch a pass. I can't believe he didn't let you borrow that.
Oh, I know. He got him right before I went on. I guess he didn't think I needed him. He had confidence in me.
A lot of SEC fans along the country music landscape. Is there anybody out there who you tend to make a friendly wager from time to time with as football season comes around?
Absolutely. There's a bunch of guys, you know, from Luke Bryan and Dallas and Jason Aldean, all those Georgia fans. We're always talking trash to each other, and, you know, you got some Clemson guys out there and stuff. So, you know, Josh Turner's a Clemson guy. So every time we see each other, we got something to say to each other. And so, yeah, there's a lot of trash talking, especially during football season, because, you know, you see each other at the CMAs or whatever, and it's like you let them know what's happening.
I bet you are not afraid to let them know what's happening down here.
Oh, when we're good, I ain't afraid to let you know how good we are. Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, and congrats on that touchdown catch.
Oh, thank you.
Dad.
All right, Kaylee and Darius, thank you very much. But, Booker, I'm a little bit surprised that he referred to Clemson as Clemson and not as that school from up north, as Steve Spurrier calls them.
Oh, I didn't know the school up north had a name until just now.
And they're also, by the way, in action today in their spring game. Meantime, you've had a couple of catches from Brandon Wilds, the leading returning rusher for this team, who had 570 yards. And Perry Orth, the junior from Ponte Verde, Florida, is throwing to him.
Yeah, and he's a guy who's a former walk-on who's thrown his name into the quarterback battle, and it's good to see him get in, get a completion to Brandon Wilds, who's the guy who has the most yards coming back. Nice setup, plant, throw the football, and get it to your playmakers. It's important when you're a young quarterback, don't hold on to the football.
Now Sean Carson, number 7, will come in the tailback position. Again, this is one of those spots while Wilds is the leading incumbent. Short gain for Carson there as the middle of the defense tackles him up. This is another position, I think, that may be fairly wide open, at least behind Wilds.
Oh, absolutely. And I think when you look at David Williams and Sean Carson, those are the two guys that I would say are going to get the bulk of the carries, not named Brandon Wilds. And I think it's important for those guys to put on a good show today. Obviously, you don't want to get them hit too much, but come the fall, South Carolina's going to have to lean on the running game because their quarterbacks combined have thrown less than 10 passes all year.
Now, defensively, we're also going to keep an eye out for number 8 in white. And we sort of rushed the passer a little bit there, Marcavius Lewis. Again, we're not putting a quarterback on his back today. If you do, I suspect you're going to be running stadium steps the next day. But let's talk a bit about Marcavius Lewis.
Well, that's something he's got to do. Here's a guy who came over from junior college, tremendous pass rusher at the junior college level, 20 tackles for losses, 11.5 sacks, and South Carolina only had 14 sacks last year. He can rush the passer. He can penetrate, get in the backfield. They need negative plays for South Carolina. He can provide those.
And there was not very many of those by the defense. Against the defense, yes, but not by the defense. They were at the bottom or near the bottom in about a half a dozen or more defensive categories. Orth will look deep. He's got some room to run if he wants to. And on the run, he'll throw, and a diving almost caught by Deebo Samuel. It popped out of his hands, and it's going to be incomplete. Now, Lewis came from Hutchinson Community College in Kansas, where he was the Jayhawk Conference Defensive Player of the Year and a junior college All-American.
Yeah, 20.5 tackles for loss, 11 sacks. Tremendous player at the junior college level. Can it translate to the SEC? We don't know. We'll find out in the fall. But for a guy that can rush the passer and get in the backfield, somebody South Carolina needs. He's going to remind you a lot of a poor man's Jadeveon Clowney. Hopefully he can live up to that billing.
Now, Sean Kelly, the former punter one time for the Florida Atlantic Owls, is in. And Chris Lamons. And we have our first flag down. Lamons will make this catch. Sort of. And let's see what the flag is. Now, some coaches like these games to be called very strictly by the book, and others are a little more laid back, and that flag was picked up by our referee. Let's understand one thing. The referee may be in charge of the game normally, but today there's only one boss on this field, and his name is Steve Spurrier. We're going to step aside and see what happens when the Garnet team takes over. They've already scored in a touchdown pass to Darius Rucker. Who's next? South Carolina last year, after 3 straight 11-win seasons, they came in with a ton of high expectations, top 10 in the preseason, and then things got started against Texas A&M, and it didn't go well from there.
Well, in that Texas A&M game, the much ballyhoo South Carolina defense got shredded, and a redshirt freshman quarterback in Kenny Hill threw for over 500 yards, and they had no answer, and that was a prelude to what was to come throughout the season from a defensive standpoint.
They struggled mightily. They did win 3 of the last 4. They did win the Duck Commander Independence Bowl over the Miami Miami Hurricanes to finish at 500, above 500, I should say, at 7-6. A lot of questions yet for Steve Spurrier, including how his defense adjusts to a new face in John Hoke and who will be the quarterback. That's been a pretty steady position for them the last 4 seasons. You knew who the man was going to be. Right now, will it be this guy, Connor Mitch, as he throws out, caught in the flat by Carlton Hurd. One of those receivers behind Pharoh Cooper, trying to stick out today and show the head ball coach they can play.
Well, and Carlton Hurd is a former walk-on, tremendous special teams player. He's getting his opportunity in the spring now to see what he can do at receiver. And that's a nice, easy throw. When you have a quarterback who hasn't completed many passes, allow him to see the ball being caught. Connor Mitch, nice throw to Hurd there.
Gained 8 on that one. How has he looked as far as his timing so far?
Timing so far looks good, Dave. And you got to admit, this is spring practice. He's going against base defenses. The South Carolina defense is only going to play man-to-man and cover 3. So they're going to make this thing simple today. That way guys can play fast and show their natural ability.
Nice run there by David Williams and a good hit by Chris Moody from the safety position. There's a first down for the Garnet team. And take a look at Moody. And also questions about defensively, and we know the established players. And we've talked quite a bit about Lewis. Look at a guy like Dexter Weidman as somebody, a young player who's going to have to step up. Opportunity here for the Garnet once again. It's time Matrick Belton, a junior from right here in Columbia, making the catch, and that will go into black shirt territory down to the 39.
Yeah, nice throw by Connor Mitch. It's one of those uh-oh throws, because when you throw it, you thought, uh-oh, maybe it's going to be an interception, but nice throw, nice catch. He's starting to get in a little bit better rhythm now, and the offense is moving a little bit crisper. It's got to be great sight to Steve Spurrier's eyes to see his quarterback in rhythm.
Jonathan Walton had a chance at that. It would have been a spectacular interception had he been able to make it, but it went through his hands, and it turns out to be a 1st and 10 at the 38. Again, this is broken down in the jersey color of the quarterback. So Connor Mitch in Garnet, his team already has a touchdown. The black-shirted quarterback, Perry Orth, did not lead his team to a score. Mitch into the middle of the field, and that's going to be a short gain there. It'll be 2nd down. David Williams gang tackled by about every Gamecock on the field, practically defensively, led by Walton. All right, so coming back on this offense, Booker, let's identify some of the players that are going to be important.
Well, Pharoh Cooper, obviously. Everything on this offense stops and starts with Pharoh Cooper. He's their playmaker. They're going to get him the ball. In times of trouble, Cooper will have the football. Brandon Wiles, their top returning rusher, they're going to lean on him to carry the mail. Shamir Jeffrey, Steve Spurrier had a great quote. I'm waiting on Shamir Jeffrey to show up and instead stop being Alshon Jeffrey's little brother. They need him to step up and to come into his own. And you talk about, from an offensive line standpoint, Brandon Shell, Mike Matulis, they need those guys to step up and fill the role A.J. Cann and Corey Robinson played last year when their offensive line was thought to be the best in the SEC.
So Rod Talley on a short gain on the offensive. 3rd down and a couple of yards. And again, this offensive line very, very thin today. Just 5 players able to play. All right, let's take a look over at the defense, coordinated by John Hoke and Lorenzo Ward.
Well, I think from the defensive standpoint, it's got to stop and start with the guy we've been talking about already, Marquavius Lewis. Why? Because he can get in the backfield, he can penetrate, he can get to the quarterback. But their leader, their guy that's going to stand in front of the room is a guy named Sky Moore. He's a guy who's led the team in tackles for the last couple of years. He's a guy who, when everything hits the fan, he's going to settle this team down. But more importantly than those 2 players, I think is a guy on the sideline in John Hoke, because they brought him in here to settle this defense down. The defense was pretty good a couple of years ago with Lorenzo Ward and Jadeveon Clowney, but last year they struggled. John Hoke is going to simplify the system, allow players to be in the right spots and make plays. And I think it's important that they do that. And it's also important. They're only playing 2 coverages today so guys can play fast. That's a John Hoke staple, simplify things.
So on 4th down and about 5, that was the first incompletion for Mitch, who'd hit his first 5 for 92 yards, including the Darius Rucker 22-yard touchdown pass. He'll try to get the first down and not get close, trying to get it into the reserve tight end Kevin Crosby. So there is a break for the defense as they'll hold there against the Garnet team, and that's got to be whatever little signs you can take out of the defense today is going to make John Hoke and his staff feel good. But you see the enormous drop-off from 13 to 14.
Well, the enormous drop-off. In 13, you had Jadeveon Clowney, you had Kelsey Quarles, and those are NFL-type players. In 14, some of those players are gone. And Coach Spurrier said, wait, is it the players or is it the coaches? I think it's a little bit of both. You bring in John Hoke, and now his job is not to give up the big play. This South Carolina team gave up a lot of big plays. And on that last series there, you saw the pass rush wasn't great, but anytime you keep the ball in front of you, anytime you don't allow the ball to go over your head for a big 50, 60, 70-yard gain, it allows your defense to play another play. And if South Carolina can do that, they can minimize some of the defensive plays they gave up last year.
So back into the game is Perry Orth, the junior quarterback, and Sean Carson, number 7, will be his tailback, at least for a couple of snaps. The black team did not score on their first time. You take a look at Orth. Also, we're going to see Michael Scarnecchia and another player we haven't mentioned yet, but his name sort of looms in the distance. He's not here. He will be in the fall, is Lorenzo Nunez. And we'll be talking a little bit more about Nunez as the afternoon goes on. Let's take a look now, the second series for Perry Orth. Orth being chased, and he'll make the smart move and get it to the 40-yard line to Terry Guger out of Atlanta, one of the freshman receivers. Now, we talked about Lorenzo Nunez. His name came up a couple of times in the meeting with Steve Spurrier yesterday in the head ball coach's office.
And Steve Spurrier's face lit up. Why? Because he's a dual threat guy, someone that can run it, that can throw it. He's not here yet. And when I asked Steve Spurrier, hey, could this be a situation when your quarterbacks, talking Connor Mitch, talking Orth, talking Scarnecchia, if none of those guys separate themselves, what about this guy coming in, Nunez? And his face lit up because he knows if everything falls and nobody distinguishes themselves, Nunez can come in and can give you a dual threat.
Now, into the game is Michael Scarnecchia. He is playing for both the Garnet and the Black. So we're coming up on 3rd down and 2. And 4:23 left in this opening quarter with the Garnet team up 7-0 on the Black. Beautiful day. We had some little sprinkles early in the morning and one good thunder shower hit town yesterday. But right now you couldn't ask for a better day. A nice little breeze coming also in to make it a little bit more comfortable. There's a little zone read. You don't see a lot of that as Carson powers his way to the 45-46. TJ Holloman on the stop. What I mean is that's not really, I don't think, a Gamecocks staple.
No, it's not a staple, but if you bring in Nunez, who's a dual threat quarterback, it could become a staple. And as you look at this team right now, they're going to need to manufacture offense because you don't have Rory Anderson, you don't have Mike Davis, you don't have Shaq Rowland. All you have is Farrell Cooper and a bunch of guys. So they're going to have to figure out ways to manufacture offense.
And we haven't seen Cooper on the field yet. We may not see him at all, or maybe for one play. Aggressive defense knocking that pass away, intended for Christian Owens. So it'll be 2nd and 10. Al Harris Jr. out of Fort Lauderdale, that powerhouse St. Thomas Aquinas in there defensively.
Tremendous play, and that's a John Hoke defense. Notice, the guy was in man-to-man coverage. He identified his man. He put his foot in the ground, and he came up and he made a play. And the most important thing he did, even if that guy catches the ball, he's going to be there to make the tackle. So guess what? It's not a 60-yard touchdown. At the very, very worst, it's going to be 2nd down and about 2 or 3 yards. That's what you have to do. Don't give up big plays.
Well, I'll tell you what, the defense has stiffened because we had the celebrity touchdown, but then the defense did not allow a score on the last drive by the Garnet team. That's going to be close, if not a first down for Carson. And it looks like it will be a first down into the defensive territory. So the last couple, they have forced a punt or a 4th down on turnovers.
They've stiffened a little bit, and I'm very, very, very glad to see Michael Scarnecchia starting to get in rhythm a little bit, starting to drop back. He's a guy who's a redshirt freshman. He's in this quarterback competition, and for him to get his rhythm, don't worry about what Perry Orth is doing. Don't worry about what Connor Mitch is doing. You can only control you, and it's good to see him getting easy completions. You don't always have to throw the 40-yard bomb. Put the ball in the hands of your playmakers and allow them to make plays.
Oh, and bouncing off of that hit by Bryson Allen Williams is Darius Polk, who somehow got back to almost the line of scrimmage. And I'm sure fans had a Jadeveon Clowney flashback on that hit.
Yeah, but what I like there is penetration in the backfield. Bryson Allen Williams, he's going to be their Sam linebacker in the 4-3. For him to make this play on the other side of the line of scrimmage, tremendous hit. Now wrap up, young man. Get him on the ground. Get your name in the paper, as I like to say. You got to get the guy on the ground to do that. But that's what the Gamecock faithful need to see. Play in the backfield. Play on the other side of the line of scrimmage.
Well, it's 4th down and 10. And the tackle ultimately made by Darius English, number 5. But what a gigantic hit. You don't see that in the spring game that often. They'll go back to the ground, and it'll be turnover on downs. Now, again, Steve Spurrier can do whatever he wants. He can change the score of this game if he wants. So it's going to be a turnover on downs, though, the second one in a row. And one thing I wanted to ask you, because as the head coach, I sometimes wonder how you can be completely happy, because if your offense is having a big day, then that means your defense is not. And by the way, Steve Spurrier said, no, that's a first down now. We're going to move it along. It was 4th down. They got the first down. But if the defense is tuning you up, then that means your offense struggles. How do you stay happy if you're the head coach?
Well, you want to see guys competing, Dave, and obviously the offense is going to win a few, the defense is going to win a few, but you want to see competition at every position. And if you're a coach, you know if guys are competing, the best of the best are going to make plays against each other, and you're happy with that. You just don't want to see one side of the ball dominating the other, because that means one or two things. Either one side is not very good or one side is not trying very hard, and neither one of those things are good for your team.
Scarnecchia sliding to be safe there, picked up a solid 8, so second down and a couple of yards to go, coming up to the 2-minute mark in this opening quarter of the spring game in Columbia at Williams-Brice. A lot of construction going on in the stadium. This place is not going to look the same when you tune back in here in September. Fake on the draw, going to go for it all right there. Pass slightly underthrown. 2 defenders in the area. Debo Samuel trying to come up with the catch, but he was blanketed, and it's going to be 3rd down and short.
And that's something for Scarnecchia he's going to learn. Obviously, he doesn't have many throws. When you drop back and you see the safety back there, you can't throw that ball in the double coverage. I'm sure somewhere you have a running back in the flat. Don't throw it up. The most important thing that a quarterback has in his hands is the football. Don't turn the football over. That's a bad throw by Scarnecchia there.
Yeah, DJ Smith and Wesley Green defending it. Now 3rd down and a couple. And to the ground and 1st down to the 30-yard line.
And you can see the defense there, 3rd and short, a little bit more of a man-to-man coverage. You're only playing 2 today, 3 deep and man-to-man. So anytime you get in short yard situations, you're going to play man-to-man coverage, get that 8th man in the box, more of a traditional 4-3. Much was made about the spur position here at South Carolina. John Hoke told us really simple. When you have a spur, all you have really is a nickel defense. And anytime you have short yardage, your nickel defense is not going to be on the field. The South Carolina faithful can take a deep breath. That spur or that 4-2-5, I think, is a thing of the past here in Gamecock land.
Yeah, John had an interesting take on that. He was almost saying, look, what is it? It's the nickel defense.
Exactly.
Everybody plays a nickel defense, particularly against spread attacks. And they're going to go one more time to the end zone. This time, Samuel got a step, and it's incomplete.
Good to see Debo Samuel getting separation there. That's a big play you got to hit. For a team that's going to have a hard time, I think, manufacturing offense, Scarnecchia, Mitch, those guys have got to hit that play. Nice drop back. He looks the safety off. Just threw it a little bit too far. Good route, though. If you talk about Samuel, good separation. Ran it to the corner of the end zone. That's all he can do. He can't throw it and catch it himself, Dave, but good route by Debo Samuel there.
2nd and 10. And a fake on the pass, draw play to Sean Carson. Carson trying to make one man miss, and an excellent tackle in the open field by Al Harris Jr. following an 8-yard gain.
Also good block there by wide receiver, big wide receiver Terry Guger. You know, at South Carolina, they've had big wide receivers in the past. I think of Sidney Rice, Alshon Jeffrey. Terry Guger is a guy who's in that same mode. Big, 6'4", 227. He just threw a great block there in order to allow the running back to get through the hole. Tremendous thing that goes on in the running game. The wide receivers got to block also.
Little rollout here for Scarnecchia. On the run, open, caught, 15 down to the 10, and to the 5, and inside of there's Terry Guger, whose name you just mentioned momentarily. And it takes it down to the 2-yard line. So a fantastic opportunity here for Michael Scarnecchia and the black team.
It's amazing what happens. On one play, you throw a block. The next play, they call your number. And now he catches it and just goes up in the flat. You might like to see him put his head down a little bit, see if he can get in the end zone. But nevertheless, good play, good throw, good catch. And more importantly, the design of the route, the play call. We talk about the old ball coach calling the plays. The play call, safe. After your quarterback just threw in the double coverage, you come back with a very, very safe throw in the flat.
I don't think it's real good news for the other coaches in the SEC and around the country that he's going to take back the play calling responsibility. Tough throw and into the bushes. It'll be 2nd down and goal, trying to force it in there to Christian Owens. Excellent coverage again by Harris, who's had a decent series here for the Gamecock defense.
Yeah, when you talk about Rico McWilliams, he's the #1 corner, but Al Harris Jr. is having himself an outstanding game. Great man-to-man coverage. We call that look and lean. You look back at the ball and you lean into the wide receiver. That way you keep contact with him. Great look and lean there by Al Harris Jr.
You get a good look at Harris as he'll go one more time one-on-one against Owens on 2nd down. This time, though, on the ground. It's a keeper, Scarnecchia, and he'll walk in. So he gets the points himself for the black team. 7-6.
Yeah, I really don't like that play because the quarterback can't be hit. Now, here's the thing. This is the defensive kind of play here. You run the quarterback. It's a short yardage situation, and you can't hit the quarterback.
Well, it was pretty well blocked, though. I'm not sure they would have gotten him anyway. Well, we'll replay it, and we'll take a look to see if the defense kind of let O'Michael walk in there or if that was actually a legitimately perfectly blocked play. 15 plays, 69 yards, and 5:02. Fry on for the PAT, and Garnet and Black 7-7. All right, Booger, is this fair or unfair? Well, our activity of choice is.
I feel like I can almost see the Augusta, Dave.
You could, depending on what. I get confused by geography around here, but we're only about an hour away. You know, at our hotel, there's a bunch of cats running around in their Masters gear today, heading down there. Landon Ard, the kickoff specialist, he'll belt that one almost out of the stadium. So we'll see if Connor Mitch brings out the Garnet or if Scarnecchia, who is sort of, what are they, a double spy kind of playing for both teams?
Yeah.
But this is an interesting battle. Plus, we've talked already about Lorenzo Nunez sort of waiting in the wings, but Connor Mitch emerged out of this three-headed battle between Orth and Scarnecchia as the leader now. And it'll be interesting to see what happens in the fall ball when Nunez arrives and how that battle changes. And Mitch will be the quarterback here, number 6.
My best bet is I think that Connor Mitch is going to be your quarterback, and I think they're going to have a package designed for Lorenzo Nunez as a dual threat guy to get him the football third and short anytime they need a big play. So I would think they would go with 2 quarterbacks. Mitch would be the starter. Nunez would be your changeup because it sounds like he has home run hitting ability.
Should be the last play of this quarter. Mitch under a little bit of pressure. He'll avoid that. There's a flag, and they're likely going to get a holding call, and they can't hit Connor Mitch, so they're going to declare him down as the quarter runs out at the 29-yard line. It is a holding call against the offense, so we'll find out rather what Steve Spurrier's decision is to do with a penalty against his own offense. That doesn't happen, but only in the spring. Second quarter coming up. Defensive coordinator. He is joining Kaylee Hartung on the field right now.
Well, Coach, 1 quarter of play down, calling the plays for the Gamecocks, considering you never have to defend against Darius Rucker again. What do you make of what you saw to that first quarter?
I didn't. First quarter, you know, we had some, we're not fitting to run as clean as we need to. The efforts trying to get it correctly and get to the ball. So that part of it's good, but got to clean up our run fits.
How do you describe the strategy you used as you implemented a new defensive scheme here?
It was just a day-by-day process. It was, you know, 1 front, 1 coverage a day. And if we got that right, then we'd move on. If we didn't get it right, we'd stay right where we're at. Because it's going to be really how well we teach it and how well they understand.
As these players have tried to digest it, what have you seen as the biggest challenge to them?
The new gets them a little bit, you know, and done a good job adapting to it, though, overall.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you.
Haley and John, thank you very much. Of course, with that lad, there's a breakaway for South Carolina down to the 30-yard line. The catch made by Kevin Crosby. Down to the 27 he'll go. On a good throw from Connor Mitch.
Yeah, Connor Mitch, you can tell he's in rhythm. Little play fake right there. Looks off the safety. Linebacker there, number 42, has got to drop under that coverage. Jordan Diggs, he's got to drop under. But great throw, great catch right there from Connor Mitch.
I was going to say John Hoke, a background in the MAC as a player. He was an all-conference defensive back at Ball State. And, of course, you may know his brother, Brady Hoke, who's going to take a year off from coaching after being relieved of the Michigan job. And we'll see where college coaching takes Brady next. But John Hoke was also known by Steve Spurrier from his days at Florida. He was a defensive coach there for 3 years, obviously successful ones in Florida before he joined the Houston Texans in 2002 and stayed in the league until this year.
Yeah, and John Hoke, while he was in the league, he learned one thing. Allow the players to make plays. This game is about players. It's not necessarily about coaches. And a lot of time coaches get too schematically with an array of things. John Hoke is going to make this very, very simple and allow his players to make plays, and that's a good thing by him.
Second down and about 7. A little shoulder fake. Mitch showing some escapability if another flag comes flying in as he throws the ball away. And we'll see if we maybe have another holding penalty. That's about where that flag fell.
But it was a nice quarterback pressure there by Marquavius Lewis for a guy that can turn the corner. Now he's on the left side. And this is what this guy can bring. He's a right end, but you can put him on the left side. He can rush the passer, and this gives John Hoke scheme versatility. You don't always have to line him up in one spot. You can move him over, showing tremendous things so far from Marcavius Lewis.
Kaylee?
Round. And he told us his 3 years with Steve Spurrier at Florida were special. He says he was very fortunate his 4 years in the NFL. Coordinator at Green Bay, but was then the head coach of the Texans. But John Hoke says it was the 4 years he spent in Chicago with Lovie Smith that had a particular impact on him as a coach. He says Lovie was very involved. Bob Babich was the linebackers coach. He's now with the Jaguars. Gil Byrd was an assistant to the defensive. He's now with the Buccaneers. And Eric Washington was the defensive line coach. Told us that was a unique opportunity to be around great leaders and coaches, and that's what allows you to grow in this profession. He says he gained an incredible amount of knowledge from that group, really how to teach and what to look for as you teach.
And he replaced Bob Stoops at Florida when Stoops went on to Oklahoma. Thank you, Kaylee. And so he brings a rich resume to a place that needed a change.
And what I love about John Hoke, he's a teacher. And when you're a teacher, that means you understand how to give information to young men and allow them to process it. And if they don't get it, then you give them another avenue, another way that they can process the information. Teachers do that. And even football players. I know this is college. Even professional football players and college alike need teachers to teach them the game.
Well, that pass into double coverage provided a bit of a collision and around the 5-yard line. Incomplete, 4th down and 12. And Elliott Fry will trot out for what could be a long field goal attempt here of 47 yards or maybe a fake.
Quarterbacks look good so far, Dave. Both quarterbacks have made throws in the double coverage, and that's something you cannot do in the SEC against some of the better defenses in the country.
Just to remind you, if you're just tuning in, we're on SEC Plus and the Watch ESPN app right now, and you'll be able to see this game in its entirety on the SEC network, as Fry, who's a very good kicker, by the way, probably one of the best in the conference and maybe even the country, nails the field goal. And the Garnet, quarterbacked by Connor Mitch, leads the Black 10-7 on a 48-yard kick by the junior from Frisco, Texas. Sunsplash day here in Columbia, and we are not going to see a lot of Pharoh Cooper today, but the SEC, Booger, will see a lot of him starting in September.
Well, and for the South Carolina offense, he can catch the football and he can take it to the house. He's the do-it-all guy. Anytime they need a play, they're going to look for number 11, and he has home run hitting ability. And he doesn't just play wide receiver. From a special team standpoint, if you kick it to him as a punt returner, he can take it to the house. He can cut on the dime, give you 9 cents change, and put the score on the scoreboard for his team. And if you say, okay, what about receiver, what about punt returner? Put him at quarterback. In the Wildcat formation, he just makes plays for this team, running the football, throwing the football. Pharoh Cooper, one of the best players, not only in the SEC, but in the entire country.
And there he is with a baseball cap on there, sandwiched a couple of players in white jerseys, and you see the impact he had on this team and what must be done for South Carolina to fill in behind him and make this offense dangerous.
Well, for guys like Deebo Samuel, Shamir Jeffrey, Alshon Jeffrey's little brother, Terry Guger, somebody has to step to the forefront. Who's going to be the number 2 guy? Because if I'm Nick Saban and I'm Les Miles and some of the other coaches in the SEC, I'm not letting Pharoh Cooper beat me. So I got to make sure I have somebody on the opposite side that can carry the load at the wide receiver position.
And, of course, the run attack will be revamped, too. You don't have Mike Davis. So you're looking at Brandon Wilds, who may be the number 1 guy. You've talked a bit about David Williams, who's run well today so far. Perry Orth is back at quarterback for the Black team. And the setup here, Orth is the quarterback for the Black team, the Garnet run by Connor Mitch, and Michael Scarnecchia will play for both teams. He actually has the touchdown for the Black team on a run play. The only touchdown pass, we just got done talking about the receiving corps, was not from any of the receivers, but from Darius Rucker, the best-selling country singer. So far, we've got Guger 2 for 29. Crosby 1 for 39 at tight ends have had 2 big catches. And really, the leading receiver in the game is David Williams, who has 4 catches coming out of the backfield.
And when you think about this South Carolina offense, go back to last year. Roy Anderson, tight end. He was a guy alongside Shaq Rowland, alongside Pharoh Cooper, who can make some plays. And it looks like Jarrell Adams is going to fit right into that mold this year.
That's intercepted. Can he hang on to the catch? Yes. A spectacular interception by Jasper Sasser, the sophomore from Jacksonville, as Orth tried to fit that into Belton, and it was knocked off. Now, I don't know how defense gets points in this game, but that is a heck of a play.
That's a tremendous play right there. A zone defense. You can see the corner number 31, Al Harris Jr., coming up from the outside. This is just like 3-deep zone. 3 deep zone can turn into man-to-man coverage. 26 right there. Tremendous play right there. That's what John Hoke is bringing to this defense, putting players in position to make plays. Then guys just have to do it on their own. Tremendous play by Sasser there.
Now, in some of these spring games, the defense will get points, but not here. Of course, that's because it's Steve Spurrier, probably. No. Harris was shaken up on that play, by the way, but he was able to walk off under his own power. But a tremendous play defensively, so there's something for John Hoke to take with him. Connor Mitch is back in, and he'll have Rod Talley as the tailback.
And you kind of have to think in this game, Dave, even though Steve Spurrier is an offensive coach, wouldn't you kind of want your defense to shine a little bit after last year?
No question. No, when you go through the SEC, and I'll do that here in a moment, as the hole opens up for Talley, and he'll get into defensive territory just across to the 49-yard line. 12th in scoring defense, 13th in rushing defense, 10th in passing defense, 13th in total defense. This is in the SEC. 14 sacks on the year, 11th in red zone defense, and it just goes on and on. And this was after the last couple of years when they had dominant defensive players in those 11-win seasons when they were winning big bowl games. That's a big drop-off.
Well, and what did they lose? They lost guys like Kelsey Quarles and Jadeveon Clowney. And the guys last year, Gerald Dixon Jr., J.T. Surratt didn't play very well. As we see, tremendous throw and catch right there.
Deebo Samuel found a real seam in the defense, and he'll be marked out of bounds in between the 11 and 12-yard lines. But there was an easy pitch and catch for Mitch and Samuel.
Well, loving what I'm seeing right there. Simple zone coverage, 3 deep zone. Deebo Samuels settles down. There's an old theory in football. When it's man-to-man, you continue to run. When it's zone, you settle down. Deebo Samuels settled down in a soft spot in the zone, caught the ball, and was able to make a big play. Loving what I'm seeing right now from Deebo Samuel.
And he's a freshman from Inman, South Carolina. You look at the depth chart behind Pharoh Cooper. You've got Jeffrey is a senior, and I think folks here have been waiting for him to break out. Carlton Hurd is a senior. Samuel is a freshman. Guger is a freshman. Shaq Davidson's a freshman. Owens and Jared Washington, all freshmen in the end zone and well out of bounds. It'll be second down. So there's tremendous opportunity here for playing time. And this is your showcase today. As Steve Spurrier told Kaylee at the top of the show, this is the day for the young guys.
Well, and they got a lot of explosive young guys. And when you look at a guy like Sidney Rice, who was here, he was a bigger receiver. They have a guy like that in Terry Guger. We know about Pharoh Cooper, but it's up to the other guys, Deebo Samuel, Shamir Jeffrey, some of the other guys that can be explosive. The one thing they haven't been in the last few years is explosive at the wide receiver position. They have to get back to that for the Steve Spurrier offense to be successful.
Rondez Truesdale, I should say, out of Lancaster, South Carolina, goes into the tailback position. And he has it, gets to about the 10. Now he's listed as a wide receiver in their guide. Sean Carson may see some time at wide receiver in this offense. Truesdale is a 5'11", 180-pounder at the running back position, but he's also got good hands.
And from Sean Carson's standpoint, when you look at the running back spot, Brandon Wiles, Sean Carson is a guy, you just need to get the football in his hands. He was a kick returner. You can slide him over at the wide receiver position. You can put him in space. He's a playmaker for your offense in space.
So third down. They have to get to the 2, keep the drive going. They may get another field goal attempt here from Elliott Fry, who drilled a 48-yarder last time out. Pressure from the back end and incomplete. Trying to force the pass to Jacob August, the tight end, the third-string tight end, who was well covered, and indeed it will be another field goal attempt from Fry.
Loving what I'm seeing turning the corner, flipping the hips, getting to the quarterback, getting pressure on the quarterback. For a team that only had 14 sacks, the faithful have got to love what they're seeing right now.
That was Darius English, number 5, and this has been a game where the quarterbacks can be hit. There definitely would have been some contact there. English broke in pretty much unabated to the quarterback.
Could have been a sack fumble there. That's a turnover. Yeah. That's a game-changing play. That's a splash play, and this defense could use some of those.
So on again is Elliott Fry. He's 1 for 1 on the afternoon, looking to put 3 more up for the Garnet. And he does perfectly. So Fry with an easy field goal makes it 13-7 for the Garnet over the Black in Columbia. 29-yard field goal caps off 6 plays, 44 yards in 2 minutes and 1 second. And Connor Mitch, what's the report card for him so far, Booger?
I think it looks pretty good. In order to understand how to grade the quarterbacks, you have to understand where they come from here at South Carolina. Dylan Thompson, last year, 3,500 yards. Steve Spurrier is now calling the plays. He's expecting a lot from his quarterbacks, throwing the football on time, as you see a throw there to Jarrell Edwards. leading his offense, allowing his offense to be explosive. The quarterback just needs to throw the football to the playmakers, put it in space. Love what I see. He's in rhythm. He's throwing the football on time. Only one bad throw I saw where he threw in the double coverage. Other than that, he's been pretty clean so far.
And he hit Darius Rucker for a touchdown pass. I mean, I'm not sure what else you need to do to win the job. That was on the first series, and a Gamecock tradition to have a celebrity catch a touchdown pass, and it so happened that that touchdown pass was to a wide-open Darius Rucker. But he has been very sharp. The numbers are very reflective of his day so far today. He's hit receivers in stride, and we've talked, and Steve Spurrier has talked his whole coaching career about timing. Jesse Palmer, who played for him in Florida, told me a story once that they were just doing drills. Jesse hadn't even let the ball go yet, and Spurrier saw where his head was and didn't like any of that. I mean, he would notice footwork. He would notice the placement of the quarterback's head in a drill. That's how carefully he watches that position, and it has worked for him, obviously, over the years with his success at Florida, Duke before that, and, of course, South Carolina.
Well, we understand the old ball coach understands how to coach offense. He knows how to move the football. I think for my liking, he gets a little bit too pass happy, which I don't think he'll be able to do this year. He has to rely on the running game. But if these quarterbacks have the talent, I think he'll coach it in them.
This is Perry Orth, and eluding the rush. On the run, he finds an open receiver. That's Shaq Davidson, and he'll get a first down for the black team to the 47-yard line. Again, the garnet and black determined by the color of the quarterback's jersey. And just a reminder, you're watching us here on SEC Plus and also on the Watch ESPN app, and you'll be able to see this game on the SEC Network.
Good movement there. This quarterback able to get out of the pocket and make a throw. Things not always going to be clean. The pocket's going to get mucky. The pocket's going to get dirty. Nice pressure there coming up the middle, but it was good to see the quarterback get out on the edge, move, and throw the football. Nice throw there by Perry Orth.
Pocket setting up that time. Orth, and a good job by the receiver to come back for that football for a 9-yard catch. That's Carlton Hurd, a senior from Athens, Georgia, 6 feet, 188-pounder, and he's able to get it just shy of the first down. It's really close. Might even consider measuring that if you want to, but the officials are going to call it second down and maybe a half a foot to go.
And I like what this offense is doing, up-tempo. Anytime you're at a talent disadvantage, which at South Carolina is probably going to be, the old ball coach said that they're not going to be picked by a lot of people. You up the tempo, it kind of evens the talent level out because that defense gets a little tired going against an up-tempo offense.
Well, it's kind of the reverse of last year. We showed earlier in the broadcast. They were a top 10, number 9 in the preseason going into that opener against Texas A&M. That is an unbelievable catch by Hurd in traffic. Flag comes in late, thrown by the line judge at the 33-yard line. So we'll see how this is going to affect the play, but that's a tremendous catch.
Out of all the quarterbacks so far, that's probably the best throw that I've seen. It's a rhythm throw. You drop back, you put your foot in the ground. That's a timing route. You can't throw that late. You have to throw it on a rope to a spot, and he did a tremendous job right there, and an even better catch by Carlton Hurd.
They nailed an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty on the black team, and it may have been Hurd who may have celebrated or said something, so it's just 15 the other way. It's still going to be first down, but now the ball is back at the 48-yard line in the defensive zone.
Sometimes the referees just want to hear themselves talk a little bit, Dave. Just a nice rhythm throw, and what he did was he flipped the football.
Yeah. Oh, heaven forbid we flip the football.
That's something you can't do. You don't flip the football. I guess you got to just lay it down.
I'm not real big on those kinds of calls. I'll be very, very honest. And you're in a spring game, for heaven's sakes. 35-yard line and a catch made by Shaq Davidson. So we're seeing some of these receivers that we've talked about having to step up in the spring game. Hurd with a couple of nice catches, and now Davidson on this drive.
And what you look for as a quarterback when he gets to the back of his drop, put his foot in the ground and let it go in rhythm, because those are throws where the play design is good, the receiver's getting open, he doesn't have to hitch. Tremendous throw, tremendous catch. They're in rhythm offensively right now. Looking for John Hoke to see his defense make a play here.
At the 35-yard line, 1st and 10. Hoke's defense has done a pretty good job overall today, including picking up an interception and forcing 2 field goals out of the Garnet team. And that will be thrown away. A wise decision by Orth, who just couldn't find anything he liked. Washington was the intended receiver, but he was very well covered.
Yeah, and if you look at that, it was man-to-man coverage. From a defensive standpoint, when they come out in 3 or 4 wide receivers, you can either play zone or you can lock up and play man-to-man. They're only playing 2 coverages today, 3 deep zone or man-to-man. And you can look, everybody was locked up on their man. That's tremendous defense right there. Just look at this. Everybody's covered man-to-man. And the quarterback, what's he doing? He's hitching the football. He doesn't know where to go. Anytime a quarterback hitches, Dave, you know what that means? The defense is doing their job. Great job by John Hoke's defense.
Orth, there he hitched again just a little bit, but finds a diving receiver open in the middle. Good patience by Orth. Washington on the catch, and that's knowing your offense. He found that secondary receiver and moves the chains.
Yeah, and the defensive end knows he can't hit him, so he kind of pulled up there a little bit. That's a spring game play. That's what I call a spring game play right there, because normally that defensive end will come up and light Perry Orth up, but he kind of knows, okay, it's a spring game. I can't hit him. And Orth is a lot more confident. As a quarterback, think about this, Dave. The quarterback knows he can't get hit.
That's a good point.
Imagine how much confidence you have when you got guys coming at you to say, okay, you can't hit me. So these quarterbacks are playing with a lot of confidence right now.
He's 8 of 11 for 83 yards is the junior from Florida. This time back to the ground. We haven't seen a run play in a little while, and nothing there for Darius Polk, a junior from Columbia, as Jalen Henry out of Foley, Alabama, a freshman playing in the linebacker position, coming in with a stop, 2nd down and 10.
Well, great play coming in. Read, react, shed the block, get in. And for a team that has Sky Moore, we know Sky Moore is their playmaker. For him to get in there and make that play like there, Jalen Henry, tremendous play right there. John Hoke's got to love what he's seeing from his young freshmen. A lot of young talent on the defensive side of the football.
And let's not forget, I should say, that this offensive line is playing every snap. There's been a couple of substitutions, but due to a lot of injuries, we're not seeing some of the regulars that Steve Spurrier will count on come September. And they're hurt, recovering from injuries, and they're not playing today. So it's a really hardcore group. Now in September, you'll see some of these guys come back out, hopefully able to recover from their injuries, because the schedule starts quickly. They'll be on a Thursday night against the Tar Heels of North Carolina, and then bam, right into conference play with an improving Kentucky team, then a trip to Athens. And by the way, don't sleep on that UCF team. George O'Leary's teams will beat you up. They may not beat you, but he runs that NFL-style run game, and they will pound on you. And then, of course, you get into the SEC.
Well, I think if you look at this schedule, I think the first thing that comes to mind is September the 19th between the hedges, because when you go to Athens, Georgia, that's going to be the game that's going to let everyone know what this team has. Can they be for real? Taking nothing away from North Carolina or taking anything away from Kentucky. That game at Georgia is going to be a litmus test for this team.
So down 2nd and 10 from the 24-yard line. And Orth. Nice grab again inside the 10, 1st down. Kevin Crosby, the freshman tight end, gets it inside the 10-yard line. And they're looking for a backup to Jarrell Adams and a maybe Crosby.
Yeah, but this is another one of those spring football plays. You can see defensive end, that's a sack right there in my book. But the quarterback, he knows he's not going to get hit. Jarrell Adams Crosby having a big day so far.
Now back to the ground. Now they can hit the running backs, and I think that's when the defense gets their opportunity. Darius Polk paid the price there. Big Kelsey Griffin, 311-pounder out of Buford, Georgia, stuffed that play.
Negative plays from a defensive standpoint. You want negative plays in the backfield. And the defensive tackles, in this system, you're going to have what we call a cock nose, which is a guy that's going to play over the center. And you're going to have a 3 technique, which is a guy that plays over the guard. You want your 3 technique to be more athletic. You want your nose guard to be a bigger guy, more of a hole stuffer. They have, and they're looking for more guys like that here in South Carolina.
Worth. Little lob to the end zone, incomplete. Trying to make a one-handed catch. That was a very difficult effort made by Shaq Davidson against Rico McWilliams, who was right there with him stride for stride. So 3rd down and goal from the 5.
Good coverage, though, by Rico McWilliams. Here's one of their returning guys coming back. Last year, 33 tackles, tackle for loss, 5 PBUs, which are pass breakups. Good man-to-man coverage here. May have gotten away with just a little bit of a pass interference, but, hey, if the ref don't call it, then there's no flag on the play.
So, by the way, the running clock that we're going to see in the second half has already started. Steve Spurrier, he has to host the halftime festivities, all right? He's got things to do today, and he's decided that he's going to start the running clock now. That's incomplete, too high, intended for Guger. So now on 4th down, will they try another field goal here with Fry, or see if they can get Perry Orth to get in the end zone for the first time today?
And one of the reasons you start the running clock early, Dave, is you look at the offensive linemen. They only got 5.
Right.
So those guys have to play every play. So he can start to see fatigue among the offensive line. And anytime you have fatigue, that leads to injury. So if I'm Steve Spurrier, I'm very concerned that I only have 5 linemen that can play the entire game. I wouldn't be surprised if they speed the game up even more if they could.
Well, the second half is designated already for running clock, 12-minute quarters as well. So the speed of this game will certainly pick up. Or this might be the last play of the quarter, and it's rejected at the line. So the defense comes up with another stop on downs as Darius English, who had to pass up a sack earlier, didn't pass up that swat, and that is how the half will end. And let's get down to Kaylee, who's talking with a guy who's had it really easy today, Pharoh Cooper. Kaylee?
Yeah, an easier day at work for Cooper than a regular practice. What was your reaction when Coach told you, we'll get you in for one play today?
Well, I kind of already had a feeling that I wasn't going to play much this spring game. So it wasn't really a big reaction from me. It was just kind of like a chill day.
They've said you can get in all the individual work that you want, but they want to protect you. Where's your focus been this spring?
Focus pretty much, still learning all the new plays we have, figuring out different coverages the defense is running, and pretty much kind of being a leader to the younger receivers out here and taking over a leadership role for the team.
For those 9 other receivers on the roster, 8 catches among them. Introduce us to that crew and who stood out to you this spring?
A whole bunch of them stood out. We got 3 early freshman enrollees. CEO's pretty big. Him and Terry about 6'3", 6'4". They can go up. Pretty big physical receivers. They go up, get the ball. Debo, redshirt, fast guy, big explosive guy. Carlton, Shamir, they both do things pretty well. So Jared, a little fast, quick guy. So overall, we got a pretty good group.
What role have you played in helping those guys come along?
Pretty much just teaching them all the plays and the signals. Some of the guys will come up to me and ask me what's the play here, what's the signal for this, how do I do this route, is this type of coverage. So just being a leadership to all the younger guys, showing them what to do out there.
Well, I hear your coach taking the field. I think we will turn it over to him at this point. I'm sure this isn't the first time you've had to hand over the mic to him.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Thanks, Pharoh.
And we're going to take a look at the Decade of Excellence in South Carolina football and the Spring Awards with your host, the head ball coach, after we step aside for a couple minutes. So let's take a look at the awards for the offense and for the defense as determined by Steve Spurrier and his coaching staff. Starting on the offensive side, most improved offensively this spring, Perry Orth and Connor Mitch at quarterback, David Williams at running back. We've seen some production out of all of them. Terry Guger, Jacob August, who's had a big catch in this game or an attempt, and Alan Knott on the offensive line. Defensively, the most improved player, David Johnson from the front. Jonathan Walton and linebacker T.J. Gurley at the spur position. Jordan Diggs leads the safeties in the corners, led by Chris Lamons. Second half coming up here from a beautiful day in Columbia, South Carolina, the Garnet and the Black. Garnet on top of the Black 13-7 here at Williams-Brice on a perfect day for a spring football game in South Carolina. Along with Booger McFarland, a former LSU All-American, and Kaylee Hartung, I'm Dave Lamont. So what have you taken out of that first half as we get set for what will be a very quick second half of the running clock?
Well, the quarterbacks look good. I expected the quarterbacks to be in rhythm, and they have been. From a defensive standpoint, I wanted to see what this young guy, Marquavius Lewis, was all about, and he hadn't disappointed, turning the corner, making plays in the backfield. And the defense hasn't given up a lot of big plays, which is what John Hoke wanted. So overall, pretty good day so far for Steve Spurrier's Gamecocks.
I mean, when you think about it, the only touchdown pass was to Darius Rucker, the country singer in the celebrity play. Let's take a look at these quarterbacks. We've seen all 3 rotating in and out today and get your thoughts on them.
Well, Connor Mitch dropping back, and you can see throwing in rhythm right there to the big tight end. For him, Jarrell Adams having a big day. Taking what the defense is giving him, for him to have the ability to sit back, read the defense, and not throw the football in double coverage. I'm loving what I'm seeing from a rhythm standpoint, hitting receivers in rhythm, and for a guy like Debo Samuel, he's been pretty good today. Or former walk-on, the ability to come in and run the offense, make good decisions. For him, I think when you're a former walk-on and you see Connor Mitch making big plays, you don't want to do that. Obviously right there, bad pass, gets picked off. Michael Scarnecchia looks like he's third on the depth chart right now. Big time overthrow right here. You got to hit that throw to Debo Samuel right there. So the quarterbacks, I think, overall, they've been pretty good. Mitch has been advertised as the best. He's been the best today so far. Arthur's probably been the second best. Scarnecchia struggling a little bit, but overall, all of them have been pretty consistent throwing the ball to the right person.
Now, Connor Mitch was sort of the favorite in the clubhouse coming into the game today. So it appears he hasn't done anything to hurt his chances. But then again, we talked about in the first half, there was a fourth name not here in Lorenzo Nunez, and where he factors into all of this and his style of quarterbacking, that clearly remains to be seen once fall ball starts. But for the moment, it's Connor Mitch's team, and so it appears. Now, the other position that we've talked quite a bit about is wide receiver. Pharoh Cooper, the hardest thing he's had to do so far today is talk to Kaylee, and that's not hard to do at all. So what about the guys behind Pharoh Cooper? Who have you liked?
Deebo Samuel, for me, has stood out. His ability to read man and zone coverage, and man, you continue running in zone, you sit down. He's done that tremendously. He's shown his ability to beat the man coverage and get open. Scarnecchia just missed him in the end zone. And he's also shown the ability, when he catches it, he can make yards after the play, which is something we know Pharoh Cooper can do. So far, out of all the receivers, Deebo Samuel has stood out to me. Also, Terry Guger. His ability to block in the run game, also catch a pass near the goal line. Those two guys have kind of separated themselves in this spring game a little bit.
And interesting you point out both those. You single them out. They are freshmen. So Scarnecchia will start this quarter at quarterback, running clock, and he'll dump it off to Sean Carson, and Carson will get a first down. And Connor Shaw, who was honored at halftime along with some of his former quarterback mates, is joining Kaylee right now.
Well, Connor, you never lost a game as a starter in Williams-Brice Stadium, honored among the winningest decade, as they're calling it here in Columbia. When you're back on this field, what emotions does that evoke?
Oh, I take such pride in this place, and every time I come back, you just have a sense of fulfillment, and especially with the guys that contributed so much to this program. It's just fun to see all the familiar faces and the teammates that I played with.
As you watch a quarterback competition unfold here, what advice do you have to those three guys as they work to earn that spot?
Yeah, I would say not overthink it. Just play the game that they know how to play. Everything else will take care of themselves, and not worry about how the performance of other players, and just concentrate on how they can do to better this team.
Now, your rookie season in the league, you start on the practice squad for the Browns. By the end of the season, you get the start in that last regular season game against the Ravens after injuries to Brian Hoyer and Johnny Manziel. What did you take away from that first NFL start?
It was a wonderful opportunity for me. It's something that I've dreamed of as a kid, to be a starting quarterback. So to have that opportunity and take advantage of it, it's something I can build on. Obviously, I wish I could have pulled it out, but I feel good about it. It was a lot of fun playing.
Your head coach of the Browns now says if you're on our roster, you've got a chance to start. In your mind, what do you need to do to make that a reality?
It's the same thing I said about these quarterbacks. Just do everything that I can control. Don't worry about everybody else. And, hopefully all the hard work that I put in will pay off.
How is your offseason different now preparing in the NFL than it was when you were in college?
Well, first off, I had a big transition. I have a family now, added motivation. And, how I prepare for the game hadn't changed much. I'm going to play the game as, I've been playing for the rest of, through my childhood, through high school and college. So just at a different level now.
Not a South Carolina native, but you're now calling Greenville, South Carolina home.
Absolutely.
Why'd you choose to do that?
Yeah, you're right. I'm a Georgia boy, but I claim the Palmetto State. And Greenville's a beautiful town. It's the midway point between Columbia and back home where my family is, so they can see my little one whenever they want. And we really enjoy Greenville.
As this winningest decade of players collected in Columbia this week, what has it been like to recognize the success that Steve Spurrier has brought to Columbia and to reflect on it all together?
Oh, it's hard to just kind of sit back and reflect, because there's so many things that Coach Spurrier has done for this program, and the players that he brought in and the coaches that he brought in to kind of change the culture of this place, and hopefully we'll just continue to build on that.
Well, we'll let this clock in the second half keep running, and we'll let you get back to your family.
All right, thank you so
Connor.
much.
Guys.
Thank you, Kaylee, and thank you, Connor. And while that was going on, Darius English, number 5 for the defense, was destroying the offense on 2 or 3 consecutive plays.
Well, understand this. When you're a defensive end and you've been here and they bring a guy like a Marquavius Lewis in who's getting all the accolades, it tells everybody else, hey, we're not good enough. So for a guy like English to start stepping up and turning the corner and getting sacks and getting pressure, they take it as a personal challenge when the all-do-it-all junior college guy comes in and nobody's talking about us. It's a little bit of a knock against you, and you see English answering the bell right here.
Well, he forced a punt. You don't see very many punts in a spring game, but English was so devastating that we saw a punt. It'll be Garnet football when we return. practice facility, which will be on the west end of Gamecock Park, and the addition of new practice fields adjacent to the practice facility. The indoor facility will have a regulation 100-yard turf football field and include restrooms, athletic training rooms, and film towers. Also, renovations to the plaza surrounding Williams-Brice Stadium will provide an aesthetic look to the entrance of the stadium. You have some greenery, brick entranceways, and an institutional landmark for the fans, the visitors, students, and, of course, the alums. So there's lots of hard hats. Some of the crew, as a matter of fact, across the way sort of sneaking some peeks. We're not getting anybody in trouble, but we noticed a couple guys in the vests and the hard hats taking a look at the spring game. Truesdale is the tailback for Connor Mitch, who leads out the Garnet team. Again, the clock, once we get it going, we just took that brief break there, will run continuously unless, of course, we have an injury. Pass a little bit behind, but caught by Crosby, and he'll get close to the marker as he's driven out of bounds.
Yeah, good throw, good catch. I noticed the defense right there. A lot's been made around here about this spur and 4-2-5. And to break it down really, really simple, when the offense is in 11 personnel, which is one back, one tight end, the defense is going to be in spur or nickel. But when the offense has two tight ends and a back in the backfield, they're going to be in more traditional situations where Bryson Allen Williams is going to be the Sam linebacker, and you will have three linebackers on the field. A lot's been made about this spur. It's nothing more than nickel defense.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. You could translate that as we're going to get a penalty here, most likely for an offsides on the right end. Little anxious there, so it'll be a gain of 5. That's Reuben Walker coming up a little bit early.
And right about now, you're halfway through the third quarter in the spring game. This is the last time the guys are going to really put the hard hats on, really come out and hit anybody until fall camp. It's about preservation mode right now, Dave.
Okay.
Don't pull any hamstrings. Don't get anybody hurt. Some people would even call it brother-in-law.
And for those who may not know what that term means, how would you describe it?
Well, I would describe it as really simple. Hey, don't hit me too hard. I won't hit you too hard. And let's kind of get this thing wrapped up and get on out of here.
Truesdale on the carry. Jalen Henry, a freshman from Foley, Alabama, number 13 on the stop. Well, we've not seen Pharoh Cooper except on camera with Kaylee Hartung, and we aren't going to see him. And again, the only touchdown pass of this game was to Darius Rucker, the country singer and the former singer of Hootie and the Blowfish. So in some ways, John Hoke's defense has done a good job. You've mentioned they've only used 2 coverages, but they must be somewhat effective. Mitch will take off. They can't hit him. And so the officials will blow that play dead just about at midfield.
Well, we talk about only having the ability to use 2 coverages. That's the only 2 coverages you can play. But you can show an assortment of coverages, meaning you can disguise different things. And that's one thing you do. When you have a simple defense, then you can disguise and show a lot of different things. And for these young quarterbacks, Connor Mitch, Perry Orth, Michael Scarnecchia, they're getting a little bit confused with disguises. You see them start off on John Hoke's defense with 2 safeties back. But watch, when the ball is snapped, their safeties are moving. We call that rocking and rolling. And now that confuses the quarterback because he thinks 2 deep zone, but now it turns into cover 3 or man-to-man.
Rod Talley is the tailback. He'll stay in the block. Timing pattern, caught, and then dropped, knocked loose at the 45-yard line. Let's see if the ruling is a fumble as Carlton Hurd was hit, or if the ruling is an incomplete pass. Bryson Allen Williams nailed him.
Yeah, and it's a nice throw right there. And that's something he's got to do. Carlton Hurd is having a big day so far. He's got to make that catch. Even though it was incomplete, he has to make that catch for his quarterback because that's the type of play Coach Spurrier is going to call 3rd and 2. I need a first down. I'm not looking for a big play. I just want to move the chains, and right there he didn't move the chains.
So on 4th down and 5, they'll bring out the punter, Sean Kelly, who was outstanding when he was at Florida Atlantic and then is transferred to South Carolina. But he had 2 very good years in Conference USA, so they get a weapon in the junior from Oakland, Florida, who last year was at Tallahassee Junior College.
But he didn't plan on doing much work today, Dave.
And Deebo Samuel will make a fair catch at the 10-yard line. So we've talked quite a bit about quarterbacks. You can't help it with Steve Spurrier, but you had a quarterback battle here anyway going on. And you wonder, well, if you're deep on the depth chart, do you have a shot? And Kaylee, I guess Steve Spurrier knows all about quarterbacks who can go deep in the depth chart and rise to the top.
Yeah, Dave, I'll bet anyone who's ever played for Coach Spurrier has heard the story of Shane Matthews' ascension to the starting job, particularly if you're a quarterback. So as Coach Spurrier tells it, entering that 1990 season, Matthews was listed as the number 5 quarterback on Florida's depth chart. His dad, Billy, a high school coach, drove over from Mississippi for their first scrimmage of the spring. Shane never even got on the field, not a single snap. So a couple of QBs sprained an ankle, as Coach Spurrier says. Matthews got more reps throughout the spring, and then came the spring game. He went 8 for 11. He threw 3 touchdown passes. He worked his way through the summer, took the steps he needed to, made the throws he needed to, and as preseason came around, he won the starting job. We know what happens next in that 1990 season. He was then the SEC Player of the Year. So from 5th team to SEC Player of the Year, Steve Spurrier likes to remind his players, it could happen to you.
And you never know what may happen with Connor Mitch or the yet-to-be-seen Lorenzo Nunez. It's a nice game there for Christian Owens. Thank you, Kaylee. And it's a great tale for those players who I'm sure at times look at the depth chart and get a little down and wonder, should I lift the weights today? Should I eat properly today? And a story like that will remind you that you got to be always prepared.
Well, it's about player development, Dave. I mean, just because you come here as one thing doesn't mean you have to leave that same thing. You can always improve as a player. I was a 3-star guy when I went to LSU. I left as an All-American, not because I went there and sat on my tail, but because I continued to develop with the help of my coaches, and I became the player that was able to be drafted and going into play in the NFL. You have to have a process and a program when you get to college, how you're going to develop. And for these quarterbacks, it's Michael Scarnecchia, Perry Orth, even Connor Mitch, it's not what you are today, it's what you're going to be when the season starts, and that's player development.
Michael Scarnecchia is the quarterback, and he has been exclusively for the black team so far as he scored the 1 touchdown on the ground on a short run on a zone read, and Devin Potter makes another catch.
And to me, Scarnecchia has kind of been, I'm not going to say he's been the 3rd best, but he's probably been the worst of the 3 quarterbacks so far. And there's nothing against him. You can tell the reps have gone to Connor Mitch and Perry Orth. Scarnecchia has been a little off. He's been a little antsy in the pocket, couple of throws high. You can tell how this quarterback battle is kind of shifting toward Connor Mitch, Perry Orth, and you can tell also they're saving reps for Nunez when he gets here in the fall.
And what must be a tired offensive line with only 6 players available and mostly only 5 really seeing any action. There you have a false start penalty on Donnell Stanley, and so they'll back it up 5 yards. I remember these games, and I don't know what your spring games were like, but I remember not 10, 15 years ago, these were 100-play marathons, all out hitting except for the quarterbacks. And over the time, as I think coaches have become more aware of keeping their players healthy, these have turned into situations like this with running clocks and a little less emphasis on the run game.
Well, coaches like to look at this as an extra practice. In spring, you get 15 practices. 14 are practices, quote unquote, and the 15th is normally the spring game. But from a coach's standpoint, they want to treat this just like a practice. Obviously, you got more fans here. You have to cater to the fans. But at the end of the day, this is nothing more than a glorified practice for the coaches. They don't want to get anybody hurt. They want to get a lot of reps. But at the same time, they want to accomplish something and get better. So this is the 15th practice, the last day of spring. It's the spring game. But more importantly for the coaches, it's the 15th practice.
And not only that, we've only had 1 brief appearance on the field of the training staff. Al Harris Jr. was shaken up. He has come back to the game. So at the moment, with a quarter to go, as we're down to the sliver of time in the 3rd, that has been successful. The team has stayed healthy that we know of. We haven't seen any time for the training staff. We take a look at the updated numbers of the 3 quarterbacks. One of 2 or 3 major subplots for the Gamecocks today. Connor Mitch's numbers are outstanding. Orth has just had the 1 interception, and Scarnecchia, while he has the rushing touchdown, his passing numbers have lagged behind.
Well, I think if you look at Connor Mitch and Perry Orth, I think they've distinguished themselves from Michael Scarnecchia. Obviously, Connor Mitch's numbers are a little bit better, but I think him and Perry Orth, who's a former walk-on, I think they both have been very, very good from the pocket. They've both had a couple of throws they would like to have back. And I think the 3rd guy, Michael Scarnecchia, you can tell he's been a little off, been a little high with some of his passes. His feet have been kind of erratic in the pocket. Overall, though, I think right now you can see why they're so excited for Nunez, because these 3 quarterbacks, although 2 of these have distinguished themselves from the 3rd, still not the type of quarterback play you're used to seeing in South Carolina. Dylan Thompson, 3,500-yard quarterback. You still haven't seen somebody step up and take the bull by the horns.
Now we are going to get ready for the 4th quarter, the final quarter of the South Carolina spring game at Williams-Brice on a beautiful, beautiful day. Back with 1 quarter to go, 13-7 here at Williams-Brice, and one of the heroes of the stadium joins Booger McFarland and myself. Delighted to have Marcus Lattimore here with us. Now, I guess, transitioning back into a role with the university. What are you going to be doing?
You know, I'm actually back in school right now. finishing up my degree. And I'm also helping the football team recruit. I do a little bit with President Pastides also and the athletic director. So, you know, I'm kind of in everywhere, but I'm excited to be back. I love my home state of South Carolina. It's a blessing to be back here. So.
Well, you've gone through these spring games with the head ball coach before. What are your memories of being out here in April?
Oh, it's fun. It's a good time. And Coach Spurrier, he makes practice fun. He makes the game fun. You see he, you know, brings somebody in at halftime to, you know, catch a touchdown. But, I mean, it's his love for the game. It rubs off on you. And I'm blessed to be able to play for him.
From an offensive standpoint, he's taken over the play calling this year. I know you've had him as a play caller before.
Right.
For the people listening out there, what's a Steve Spurrier call game like?
Whatever works. If that team is stopping the run, we're going to throw the ball. If they're stopping the pass, we're going to run the ball. It's very simple. And, you know, I really enjoyed playing for him, but just for the fact, you know, he uses his guys in special ways. I mean, at running back, we could, you know, catch a screen and, you know, catch a swing, and we could also run the ball 40 times a game, so it was awesome.
Well, particularly when you were around, they could run the ball 40 times a game.
Yeah, it was
that
a good
helps.
time. I loved it. Loved every minute of it.
Marcus Lattimore joining us here in this final quarter at Williams-Brice, one of the heroes of South Carolina football. I think the thing that has impacted me is recognizing, as he did at halftime, the 10 years of success under Steve Spurrier and what he has done here at a program where many thought you couldn't win big.
He changed the culture. That's exactly what he did. And Ray Tanner said when we signed Coach Spurrier, we got better instantly, just for the fact his love for the game and his knowledge of the game. I mean, you know you're playing for an SEC legend, but his love for the game, I can't stress that enough. It rubs off on every single one of those guys, and I'm looking forward to a great season from him. We brought in defense coordinator John Hope, and it should be a fun year.
When you talk about he changed the culture here, how did he do that?
He changed the culture by making us believe. You know, he did it in ways that may not be the best, but, you know, he made us believe. You know, he would motivate us. And I remember last night, actually, Nashawn Goddard, former offensive lineman, was saying he got motivated by the fact that Coach Spurrier said maybe we should go recruit some Georgia and Auburn guys. And that really fired them up, and they won 3 out of the 4 last games in 2005. And he would do that with us, and it affected me a lot, and it motivated me.
Now, we saw David Williams just now.
Yes, sir.
Big carry up the middle. From a running back standpoint, you talked about his ability to give the football off to the running back over and over and over. Mike Davis is gone. You got Brandon Wiles, Sean Carson, David Williams. In your opinion, which one of those guys has kind of separated themselves as a guy that's going to get the bulk of the carries?
Well, man, we got a loaded backfield. Brandon obviously has a lot more experience. He had a great year last year. So he's probably the front runner right now. I love David Williams. He's 225 pounds and he runs a 4.3. I mean, that's not common. And of course, Sean Carson, he can catch the ball, and that's the way we'll use him. But Brandon Wiles, he has a lot of experience. He has good hips, good quickness for a big man, and I'm looking forward to seeing all 3 of those guys play.
That was Chaz Elder being helped off the field by the training staff, and he hopefully will be okay, but he'll certainly have some time to recover before you get to the fall ball practices. I'm sure it was a difficult season from a perspective. Watch this team struggle last year after all the success with 11 straight wins. What needs to be improved?
You know, when you look at the past 5 years, we had a dominant defensive line or a defensive lineman, whether that be Clowney or Melvin Ingram or Devin Taylor. We didn't have that presence up front that we did the past years. And you guys know defensive line makes the team. I strongly believe that. I've been playing a while. If the defensive line is good, you have a chance to win the game, and we'll be better up front.
And speaking of that, I think the guy you have now, Marquavius Lewis, I've seen enough from him, and also English. To me, those 2 guys have stood out today, the guys that can turn the corner, not only here in this spring game, but against SEC competition.
And exactly. What we do here, Coach Ward, Coach Hope, and Coach Adams, they develop players. You know, as the time they come in as a freshman, I mean, they're not expected to go in there and play unless you're Jadeveon Clowney. But, I mean, they develop guys every year, year after year, and they get better every year. So Darius English, he's been in this system for 4 years coming up now. Marquavius Lewis, I mean, he's a talent. a lot of people compare him to Clowney, but I mean, I'm excited to see Darius, just like you said.
We're talking with Marcus Lattimore, one of the greats of South Carolina football over the years, outstanding running back, now back in school, and also going to be working, and already is working for the university. The head ball coach tells us you'll be right below him, I guess, in the office structure. You'll have an office down on the second floor.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that ought to be a lot of fun, and you're also going to be looking at new facilities here and an upgrade. Let's face it, in the SEC, if you don't already have your bubble and everything, you're already trailing, and that is one thing that's been missing here, but not for much longer.
You are exactly right. When I first got here, I mean, we had nice facilities, but if you look, you know, to the south of you right now, it looks like Oregon's campus now. But I'm excited to see it. They got new dorms coming up. They got a, you know, new indoor. The new practice fields look amazing, and people that say facilities don't make a difference, they're lying, because facilities, the recruits look at that, and they want to be looked at just like the Alabamas and the Georgias and the Floridas of the world. So
Jasper Sasser with the interception of the deflected pass. So again, the defense has come up now. That's their second pick, and while he is going to go ahead and run it out, it's not going to count because the only points go for the quarterbacks.
Well, and you can look at this. This is man-to-man coverage. Little pick route they tried to run right there. Ball kind of got away right there. Goes up, catches the football. But that's what we talked about, Dave. Man-to-man coverage, it's a simple defense. Hey, we call it cat coverage. You cover that cat wherever he goes. and for John Hoke, he's making this defense simple, and they've been able to make plays today. Now, can they carry that over into the fall, into the offseason, and once you get into conference play, which is really when this is going to be put to the test?
exactly.
So we have a break on the field. Marcus, we're going to let you go. I know you've got a lot of other things you've got to do and a lot of people that probably want to say hi to you. But thank you so much. Best of luck with continuing your education and your new role here at South Carolina.
I really appreciate it.
We loved watching you play, man. No one left his heart out on the field more than you did.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't have to tackle you, man.
Thank you so much. Marcus Lattimore joining us here, the career leader in rushing touchdowns for the Gamecocks. And that's, by the way, 2 interceptions for Jasper Sasser today. So we wondered defensively. We've talked about English a bit today. We talked quite a bit about Marquavius Lewis, but there are other opportunities in these spring games. And you're seeing a player like Sasser step up and be aware of the football and make a couple of picks.
Well, and those are what we call splash plays. Those are plays that change the game. You can turn the football over, and it's a good combination. Think about this today, Dave. We've seen pressure from Lewis. We've seen pressure from English. And we've seen interceptions being able to be got by this defensive secondary. That's a good combination because pass rush equals opportunities where the quarterback has to throw the ball in a hurry and guys behind him can catch the football. That's a good thing for John Hoke. I'm loving what I'm seeing from his defense so far.
And it is a simplified defense, as you mentioned several times early in the broadcast. One of the goals that John Hoke has for this defense, and working in coordination with Lorenzo Ward, who stayed on staff here, and we'll see if South Carolina can improve. And really, you look at statistics, there's almost nowhere to go but up based on what happened last year.
I mean, when you're near the bottom, there's only one way and one place to go. And something that deserves to be mentioned, because I wonder, when you bring in a new defensive coordinator in John Hoke, I realize his title is co-coordinator, but let's face it, he's calling the plays. Yeah. Lorenzo Ward was here. How's that relationship going to go? Is there going to be any animosity? Is there going to be any bickering? From everything we've been told, those two have gotten along well. And you got to attribute that to John Hoke and Lorenzo Ward, 2 professionals at their field.
Well, now Michael Scarnecchia is going to try to run what I guess became the 4-minute offense, like a 2-minute offense, because the clock isn't going to stop unless the trainers come on the field. And Scarnecchia has moved already from the 6-yard line to the 45 in the defense territory. And there's a good hit missed at the 35-yard line. And continuing inside the 30 is Darius Pauk. So here's an opportunity for the black team, which has trailed all day, to sneak a winning score in.
Well, it's a good pass rush move off the end there. Scarnecchia gets the ball out right there. Bryson Allen Williams has got to be able to make that play there. He's got to make that tackle.
We're going to step aside. We'll set you up for the last 2:27 here at Williams-Brice. So let's take a look at the 2015 recruiting class and the number 21 in the nation from ESPN Recruiting Nation, 5 in the ESPN Top 300, Booger, and some of the top players. We're already seeing Marquavius Lewis in action today.
Yeah, but you know what I see? I see defensive linemen. You talk about Dexter Wideman, Shamir Blackshear. Dante Sawyer and Marquavius Lewis, who's already here. Defensive linemen. Why? Because as Marcus Lattimore said, when your defensive line is strong, your entire team can be strong. And when you lose Kelsey Quarles and Jadeveon Clowney from a couple of years ago, it's no wonder last year this defense was not good. Steve Spurrier went out, and he brought in a ton of defensive linemen.
And also the fourth quarterback not here, Lorenzo Nunez. And there you mentioned defensive lineman and pressure, and that squashes that passing attempt. Kelsey Griffin, we've called his name a few times today, collapsing the pocket.
Well, it's important for him. Nice little pass rush move there. He beats the guard. Number 72 looks a little tired right there. I think he's been playing all game.
It's because he has. If you're just joining us here, it is due to injuries. South Carolina pretty much using 5 linemen today, and it's 80 degrees. That's a nice touch on the pass. Down inside the 10. Inside the 5 is Deebo Samuel down to the 1-yard line with a minute and a half remaining and counting.
And that's what you like to see. It was a good pass rush by English, but this is 3-deep zone coverage. Notice what we talked about, sitting down in the zone. Deebo Samuel sat down in the zone. Great throw there by Scarnecchia. Good throw, good catch. Great route combination.
They mark him down at the 2. And again, Samuel, and you mentioned him as one of the players you've liked to see, you did like today, as they go to the ground with Devin Potter and nothing there. But Samuel is a freshman, and that's good news to see who behind Pharoh Cooper was going to have a good day today. You mentioned Terry Guger also a freshman.
Not only has Deebo Samuel stood out as a receiver, when the punter has punted, who's been catching the punt returns? It's been Deebo Samuel. So that tells me right now that he is the second best playmaker for this team behind Pharoh Cooper. They're going to get him the ball any way they can.
And he may be doing kickoff returns, which we have not seen today, nor have we seen punt returns. Now, Pharoh Cooper is normally the punt returner for this team. As Scarnecchia fires into the end zone for the touchdown, caught by Terry Guger.
Big receiver, and anytime you have big receivers, Dave, down by the goal line, this will bring back memories of Sidney Rice to the South Carolina Gamecock faithful. A big receiver can position his body inside, runs a little slant route. Nice throw by Michael Scarnecchia. He hasn't been on target today a lot, but right there, tremendous throw, tremendous catch. Some would even call it a game winner, Dave.
And the PAT is made. It is 12 for 19, 191, and the clock has been stopped. Landon Ard will be on for the PAT. He is a kickoff specialist, getting a chance to get on the board, and the black team ahead for the first time today. And now the clock will run, and that may be it. Steve Spurrier just wanted to make sure they got the PAT in. We're not going to have any kick returns for touchdowns here, so it looks like the black team with the late touchdown is going to escape with a 14-13 victory here at Williams-Brice.
And overall, I think it's been a good day overall. Deebo Samuel, we was looking for a receiver who was going to step up. I think Deebo Samuel showed us, guess what? You can't just double cover Pharoh Cooper because I'm on the other side, and he is explosive, something they haven't had at the receiver position in a long time.
Connor Mitch had a standout day, however. We hope to have an opportunity to talk to him before we get going, but we'll hear from him and from the head ball coach with Kaylee when we come back to Columbia. Late touchdown. PAT propels the black to the victory over the Garnet, and the man who oversaw it all, Steve Spurrier, is down there with Kaylee Hartung.
Well, Coach, a strong finish with that last drive. At times through this spring, the progress or lack thereof of your offense had you a bit frustrated. Do you have the progress where you want it now?
No, Kaylee, this is not our final team for next year. We got 3 offensive linemen that were hurt, that didn't even go through spring practice. But it'll be a different team next year. But this was pretty good work for our quarterbacks, receivers. Defense played well. Mike Scarnecchia hit Terry Guger, and Deebo Samuel made a big catch. So it was sort of exciting to score 7 right at the end to win a game.
We heard Deebo Samuel's name a lot today. What did you learn about him?
Well, we know he can play. He's a good player. He just needs a lot of practice and reps and so forth. But a lot of guys did pretty well today, and fortunately no one was seriously injured.
8 newcomers on this field for the first time. You said today would be all about those young guys. Who impressed you?
Well, I think all the quarterbacks did some good things here and there. Receivers caught it when they could get open, but the defense covered well. We only played a couple of coverages, so there was very little mistakes. No mistakes, you have pretty good coverage, so hopefully we can continue doing that.
How do you rate your defense's grasp of a new scheme under John Hoke?
Oh, it's not that hard. It's not that complicated. What we want to be is a fundamentally sound team that tackles well and plays with a good effort. Those kind of things. We didn't do it quite that well last year, but and we got some different players too. So if we put all that together, we should have a pretty good defense.
Well, the other big event in this part of the country, the Masters, is Jordan Spieth going to hang on to the lead?
Everybody thinks he will, so I might as well think he will too.
Thank you, Coach. Connor Mitch also joining me. Connor, how did it feel to get on the field of Williams-Brice and have the command of the offense?
Oh, it was good. Everyone was ready for this day. We were practicing hard, our 14, 15 practices we had, so I think it was more anxiousness more than anything.
How do you describe the work that you put in the offseason, helping the receivers who would be around you and yourself to prepare for what's ahead?
We got a lot of young receivers right now. They work their tails off learning the playbook, how to run the certain routes. So, I mean, overall, we're happy with the way they performed.
You sought counsel at times from Dylan Thompson as last season wound down, as you knew you would be in a position to be a leader here. What were those conversations like?
Oh, man, Dylan's great. If it was on the field, off the field stuff that I needed help with, he was there. But he was just a great mentor for the 2 years I was here with him.
The quarterback competition far from over. What do you take away from today to put yourself in the right position come fall?
Just to continue to try and get better every day as a whole unit, offense and defense.
No, let's not do that.
Work our tails off in the summer and be ready for the fall.
Start working. Thanks, Connor.
I appreciate it.
Guys.
Yeah, speaking of the Masters, I know at least a couple of people who are in that interview package who may be attending that this weekend. But the boys in the booth, Mr. McFarland and Mr. Lamont, will have to settle for TV coverage. Now, your thoughts, what did you take away from this, Booger?
Well, I think the defense is going to be better this year. John Hoke is bringing a different element. Lorenzo Ward and he are working great together. They're going to be fundamentally sound. Marquavius Lewis, English are going to be impact players. On the offensive side of the football, Deebo Samuels has stepped up. So look for this offense to be built around David Williams, Brandon Wiles. I think Connor Mitch, along with Lorenzo Nunez from an offensive standpoint. But Pharaoh Cooper is still going to be the guy. Looking forward to where this team and how they grow in the offseason leading into fall camp.
The defense, and we've talked quite a bit about that. That's a major emphasis. This must be improved if this team is going to contend in the East. I know they were bland today on purpose, but what did you mention? A couple of names. What else did you like?
Well, the simplicity of this defense allows them to play fast. This is the defensive system that I played in. The one thing that it allows you to do, play mistake-free, as Coach Spurrier said. It allows you to make plays because of your natural athletic ability. And then also it allows you to know where you're going to be. And half the battle is knowing where you're going to be, who you have to cover. John Hoke, tremendous. Nothing against Lorenzo Ward.
Right.
John Hoke is going to be an upgrade for this defense.
All right, Booger, thank you very much. I want to thank you all for watching and thank our great crew here from ESPN. The final score, the Black defeats the Garnet 14-13. For Booger McFarland and Kaylee Hartung and our crew, I'm Dave Lamont. Thank you for watching. Look forward to bringing you more football in the fall. These Gamecocks take on the Tar Heels on a Thursday night.